republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fair number of people in the audience today. Do we have any public comment for items not appearing on today's agenda? No? All right. Any additions to the agenda from either commissioner?
None more.
All right. Any edits needed to the meeting minutes? No?
More.
All right.
And I will move to approve the minutes from the meeting held January 30th, 2024.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the meeting held on January 30th. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll move to proclamations now. We have our fifth proclamation of 2024, proclaiming February 10th as Lunar New Year in Center County. We've got two visitors here today to talk about that. Vicki and Jun Young, if you'd like to come up to the podium and or you could come up here. That's better probably, yes, since there's two of you. Vicki, you've done this before, so
Yes.
probably have you lead it off.
Yes, now I didn't bring the text. Did you want to?
I think we have it.
We have it right here. If
Oh.
you want to take a look at it.
Okay. Would you like me
Pass it
to
down.
read it into the record?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry, take this off. Yes, thank you very much. I'm happy to announce that the proclamation, whereas Lunar New Year, predominantly celebrated by many communities of Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, Tibetan, Mongolian, Singaporean, Malaysian, and Filipino descent. Lunar New Year is a time of joy and renewal. Traditions across these cultures are varied, but all focus on celebrating and strengthening family and community bonds. And whereas the Lunar New Year, also known as Spring Festival, is based on the lunar calendar, which includes the Chinese zodiac, a repeating 12-year cycle of animal signs and their ascribed attributes. And whereas the animal signs can vary across cultures, but the Lunar New Year marks the transition from one animal to the next, with February 9th ending the year of the rabbit, and February 10th starting the year of the dragon. Woo! The dragon is the fifth of the 12 zodiac animal signs, and those born in the year of the dragon are seen as courageous and intelligent, tenacious, enthusiastic, and confident. And whereas over 10,000 Asian Pacific Desi Americans residents live, work, and play across Center County communities, contributing to our economy and enriching the ethnic and social fabric of our community with multiple languages, cultures, and religious beliefs. Center County greatly benefits from the creativity, enterprise, skills, and diverse heritage of our residents. And whereas, like all major holidays across the globe, the Lunar New Year honors the internal bond of respect, honor, and love for family, community, and country, and unites family over generations. I don't know if you want me to read the resolution. Be it resolved that the Center County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim February 10th as Lunar New Year in Center County and encourages everyone to join in the spirit of celebration and reaffirm our community's commitment to family, diversity, mutual respect, and creating an inclusive environment of belonging for all of our residents.
Thanks, Vicki.
Thank you. Would you like to say anything, Joanne?
Oh, sure. I'm honored to be here. I will talk briefly about what it means to have this day for Asian communities. Our Lunar New Year starts with I'm Korean, so I'm talking about the Korean tradition where we start the New Year's Day by eating rice cake soup. And that's how everybody gets 1 year older. And when I was young, that was a really exciting idea that you get older by eating the rice cake soup. I'm less excited now, but the idea is that everyone gets older together. It's a kind of community, the family, they mature together by eating together, and their bonds deepen. And I think, by listening to Vicky hearing proclamation, it is really true that we celebrate family and community bonds. And, this is where our home is. And then as a person who's teaching students in Asian studies, where I witnessed the growth of students' interest in Asian culture. And I'm really, really proud of my students at the same time. So this is really meaningful for me and the community. And I really thank everyone who's here celebrating. And thank you so much for Center County for the recognition of this really special day. Thank you.
And finally, I'd like to recognize 3 great Center Countyans who passed on recently, who we think people will recognize and who have made major contributions to our communities. Herbert Wong died January 26 at the age of 93. He and his wife Teresa opened the first Chinese restaurant on College Avenue in 1970, moved it to North Atherton in 1972, and in the 1980s converted it to a wholesale and catering operation, supplying their famous classic egg rolls and other foods such as desserts to many restaurants around the county. And you'll probably recognize many of them today. And their children today continue the wholesale operation, and many of them are living in Center County. Herb was a Marine veteran, a Pennsylvania College football player, and a graduate in biology. And we were grateful that he and Teresa decided to break the ground with the first Chinese restaurant in State College. And then we also, in December, lost David Chen. He and his wife Julie owned and operated the Golden Walk restaurant in downtown State College for 30 years. And it was located in a house where today now is occupied by the Standard luxury student housing. But I can tell you, when I arrived as a freshman in 1977, I was desperate to find any Chinese food because dorm food is dorm food. And I was so grateful. They opened in a house. I ate on a table in their porch, and I was there weekly. So they were my home away from home, and they hosted many family events, including a dinner after my mother's funeral in 2010. So thank you, David and Julie, and their children for contributing to our community. And finally, I wanted to honor the memory of Penn State professor Dr. C.R. Rao, who died last summer at the age of 102 at his daughter's home. But he was a world-class teacher at Penn State and a scientist in statistics research. And often it's not always well known, some of the amazing work of the Asian Pacific DESI faculty and the researchers at Penn State. But Dr. Rao's contribution were honored by President Bush with the National Medal of Science, and his contributions to statistics and mathematics is used in economic planning, weather predictions, and medical diagnostic today. So we are so fortunate to count Dr. Rao, Mr. Chen, and Mr. Wong among our prominent Center Countyans. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Jun Young. Appreciate you coming and talking about one of the larger groups in Center County. Didn't realize we're up to 10,000 now. Last time I checked, it was 8 or 9. So congratulations on the growth. I'll turn over to Commissioner Concepcion for any comments.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here and sharing more about what Lunar New Year means in the Asian and Pacific Islander communities. And, I think we have seen, certainly over the past couple decades, a real growth in the number of Asian Americans here in State College and surrounding areas. And we can tell they just bring, so much diversity and just really like a lot of warmth and, bringing, by bringing your cultures here and sharing with us, what Lunar New Year it means to your families, and the diversity of thought and the diversity of foods and different perspectives that your community is able to bring to our communities through Penn State and throughout the rest of the community is really welcome. My kids are half Pacific Islander, so we're part of that community to some extent as well. So thanks for being here.
Great, thanks, Amber. Mr. Dershowitz?
Well, first of all, happy Lunar New Year. I think
Yes.
that's a pretty neat thing that we're able to celebrate with you, and I'm glad you're here to kind of spread the word. Do we know why February 10th is the day? I'm just curious.
Well, it's based on the lunar calendar. So,
Okay.
of course, the Chinese calendar, like the Jewish calendar, is based on a different milestone. So it's up in the 5,000s.
okay.
I've lost. No. Actually, the Jewish calendar is in the 5,000s. Chinese calendar is in the 4,800s. Who remembers? But like Easter, it can go as early as January 31st.
So
To
this
late
date-
February.
This date changes every year?
Oh yeah,
Okay, all right. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to learn.
yeah.
Uh,
And Year of the Dragon is supposedly the lucky year, very auspicious or very disruptive. But
We'll go with auspicious.
everybody buys
go with
extra lottery
auspicious.
tickets on Year of the Dragon. We're all like, yeah.
Well, that's cool. So, thank you for that. But I want to thank you for highlighting particularly your first two luminaries that you put on. Herb Wong, I think many of us know Herb and have known, I consider him a very good friend over the years, and he's been just an absolutely wonderful man to know, and his family has been awesome to our area. But Dave and Julie Chen, like yourself, I have eaten there many times. One of my very close friends and one of my college roommates used to manage the restaurant. And so I will tell you that I probably went there more than I probably should have, and enjoyed so many different great meals there. But I have to tell a story about the Golden Walk. Back in the day, we, and I'm not sure, I guess I can talk about it now. We had the opportunity to.
Statute of limitations
Yes,
has expired.
well, let's just say, let's say the statute of limitations
What
is
happens
up.
in Center County stays in Center County.
we used to deer hunt very effectively back in a different time, and the folks that worked there and the Chens would enjoy venison as well, and so there would be a special night that we would have that we would, let's just say, provide the makings of many good meals, and I have very fond memories of some of the best venison in my life coming from the Golden Walk restaurant. And those
Excellent.
folks have been absolutely wonderful over the years, and I don't know that there is a Chinese Asian restaurant that compares with it in quality or breadth of service. So I just thank you for that, because I didn't realize that Dave had passed, and
Yes.
that's a sad moment, but at
Yes.
the same time, it's an opportunity to celebrate some really amazing people. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And some good memories.
Yeah, they were very welcoming to the community. I know a person who emigrated here from Germany who was a waitress at the Golden Walk. So very much appreciate the two of you coming to celebrate Lunar New Year. Again, as Commissioner Dershowitz mentioned, Happy Lunar New Year. As you mentioned, it's a holiday celebrating family and community, and we can always use more holidays like that. Appreciate you coming, and unless there's anything else, I think we could, go ahead, Ann.
Yeah, just a quick question. Do you know, are there any community celebrations that are kind of public celebrations in town?
Not really. Some years, some
some
student
years
groups
they're
are
not
ambitious
bad.
enough to organize even a little mini. That They often have their banquets on campus. I've known some communities, like in Ohio, will have a community celebration, like a parade, the dragon
Right.
dance and things. And I sort of inquired sometimes with the borough, but it's a lot of work, and often the January, February is already full here between the other activities, MLK, Black History Month, and to be honest, on.
Yeah.
And it's very challenging, but we always talked about. But then during the multicultural festivals.
Right.
The Chinese school will bring a dragon out, but often it attracts the one in Ohio, people from the next county, because there are residents in Lock Haven, even Mifflin County, that would look for an opportunity to celebrate. But certainly that's an idea that perhaps some entrepreneuring person would like to take on. But actually, I've had questions. People would love a Filipino restaurant, and
So.
we're like, yes, we're
Yes.
working on it. And I will say, if you
Yeah.
look in town, not just State College, we are blessed with so many new restaurants and eateries where people feel confident to bring their foods. I mean, I go to Pleasant Gap, the Cafe Luna,
Yes.
and Pleasant Gap for the bakery, and just because of rent. But Calder Way, once they finish that utility replacement and pedestrian renovation between, Indian, French diner,
Yes.
and now Korean fried chicken,
Yes.
Tasty K.
Yep.
We're just so blessed to have such great entrepreneurs willing to bring their ideas to Center County.
Yeah. We
So.
do need a Filipino restaurant here.
A friend keeps asking for lumpur, the egg rolls.
Oh,
and
the lumpia.
I just, lumpiata. I said, I can't help you. I don't
Yes.
know.
My mother-in-law makes those and brings them to us.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I believe Center County, and it attracts employees, I take it, who look for a very diverse community in culture and foods.
Yeah.
So,
And students really appreciate having diverse food choices, too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you.
Great.
Glad we could celebrate with you.
Yes.
Hey.
I think we're ready for the motion.
I'll move to adopt Proclamation 5 of 2024, proclaiming February 10th, 2024 Lunar New Year in Center County.
I will second that.
We have motion and a second to adopt proclamation number 5, proclaiming February 10th as Lunar New Year in Center County. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Why don't you come out, bring the proclamation, Vicki, and we do.
We do.
We ask that the two of you would center on Belfont, so come a tiny bit more my way.
Okay,
Vicki.
you tell me which way.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. Now, this 10,000 was an old figure. Let me make sure comes and goes.
No, it sounds about right, actually. I think
When
that's
you count the
secret.
kids.
Oh, of course, yes, yes. Great.
You're good?
All good?
All good?
All right, thank you very much.
She's good, thank you.
She's quick back. Thank you
Usually
very
there's
much for
always
coming in.
one more.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Year of the Dragon.
Ah, that sounds like a
Auspicious.
good year, yeah, auspicious.
Yes.
We're
Good
going
to
with
know.
auspicious.
Good to know.
Yeah, for the press, it's auspicious. All right, move on to resolutions. I believe we've got Dave Lomison here for resolution number 3 of 2024.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I come and ask the board to consider authorizing Resolution 3 of 2024. It's giving the authorization to execute on behalf of Center County certain documents associated with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation's DOT grant system. Just various steps in the process that we take, and it's an important thing that gets done. Our grants are for funding of PennDOT trips, vehicles, and the likes of that. So there is a certain requirements that they ask for, that certain people have certain roles in this, and in front of you is the roles that we've outlined them, and it just helps us in getting our job done when they require something. And sometimes it's an adjustment, but certain people do certain things. So we've come before you asking for consideration to approve that.
Well, thanks, Dave. We do appreciate the funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, although, as you're aware, I'm not particularly fond of the DOT grant system.
No,
To help
Mark,
walk me
trust
through
me,
that at
neither
least
am I.
5 times a year.
We do sometimes struggle with it, and they change some things, but if you do it enough, it's easy, but it's not something we do every day, so it does make it a little difficult. But we have our little cheat sheets to help us navigate
Yes.
through it, and so.
Any questions, Commissioner Concepcion?
So,
Commissioner Dershowitz?
Nope, something we have to do.
All right.
Okay. All right, then I will move that we adopt Resolution 3 of 2024.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution Number 3 of 2024, authorizing execution on behalf of Center County documents associated with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation DOT grant system. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries. Great, thanks,
Thank you
Dave.
very much.
Thank you.
All right, oh, we've got a whole bunch of different people coming up. I think we've got Ryan first. Oh, there you are. Ryan first from probation.
Good morning. I am here for a discussion for the contract renewal with Central Counties Youth Center. This is a center that 5 counties share. It is an agreement between the 5 counties where we share the cost. It is unfortunately a necessary evil that when dealing with juveniles, sometimes they do have to be detained. This is the total contract amount is $364,963, and this is a shared cost between the state and county, basically cut in half. And this is an annual contract that we enter into with this detention center.
Great, thanks, Ryan. We appreciate the other 4 counties that we joined with for the youth center and the 50-50 funding from the state and Commissioner Dershow's willingness to serve on their board. I know sometimes that's a fair bit of extra work.
Yeah, the challenge with that board, as you know, is it's a sliding scale of how much, use versus, our use versus the other counties' use. Plus, we have a little bit of offset from non-member counties, non-owner counties. But it's a challenge to provide that service, and I think the state particularly has made it incredibly challenging in my experience, just knowing all the rules and regulations that are required to deal with the children, and it's a laudable. The folks that work there really are saints, because they deal with some of the biggest challenges in our organization. I just want to say thank you to them, and thank you for your participation in making that system what it is today, and providing safety and security net for children that otherwise might have to be shipped out of state for care. And we're very lucky to have that facility in our region to provide those services. So.
It's a huge benefit to have it in our backyard instead of having to go to Ohio or New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Commissioner Concepcion, any comments or questions?
No, just, how important it is having that here, because the impact on families and kids if they are having to be moved somewhere else is really detrimental. So it's just important that we, continue supporting this locally. And I think that they're often looking for people who are interested in working there, who have the skills and capacity to work in a pretty challenging environment. But we really do need people to be willing to work in that youth center to keep it open here. So.
On the upside, there has been a pretty good surge in recruiting and employment
Good.
up there, so they're getting
Good.
the staff complement back to where it needs to be, and that's very
Good.
helpful providing those services. So.
Good. Well, we'd like to thank the staff of the Central Counties Youth Center for doing a difficult job very well. All right, unless there's anything else, I think we can take a motion.
I'll move to add the contract with the Central Counties Youth Center to next week's consent agenda.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to add the contract with Central Counties Youth Center to next week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right,
Thanks
now
for all you
we'll move over to Controller's Department. Okay, there's Jason. Everybody's
he is.
out in the hallway today.
There he is. I'm hiding. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me here today. I have in front of you, it's a contract addendum with Meyer Dissel to assist my office due to a vacancy that we've had for about 6 months, as you're aware, with some of the catch-up audits that we have been working on, and to get us current while that position remains vacant. Once that position is filled, this part of the agreement will cease, as they are just our external auditor for our regular ACFR. But this is just to keep us on track with our internal audits and responsibilities as well. It will still be all under my supervision, my office's supervision, the completion of these audits, but it's just for them to do the working papers and legwork on that completion.
It occurs to me, Jason, why don't you mention the position we have open in case somebody listening is interested in a position of that type?
Sure. So the position we do have open in my office is the second deputy controller, which is responsible for audits and overseeing our audit intern program. So it's an important position in not only our office, but county
Yes.
government in general.
Yep, and get to work at a great place, good coworkers, nice benefit package.
Absolutely. Great pension plan, too.
Yes, I wonder who manages that.
That would be my office.
Jason, do you have a estimate about what the total, I mean, you have it broken down by hour, but I'm just wondering if you have an estimate of the total cost.
I don't right now, but it won't be any more than the savings on the vacancy of the position, if that makes sense. So we're only going to be using as supplementary, and then so whatever we're saving on it, once that position's filled, we'll cease this part of the agreement. So I don't have a firm number on it, but that's what we're going to be working at.
All right. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Commissioner Concepcion?
Yeah, no question. So except that position's posted and.
It is. It's been posted since September.
Okay. All
I know
right.
there's the shortages of financial professionals throughout the Mid-Atlantic, maybe even the whole country.
Absolutely.
All right, unless there are any other questions, we could take a motion.
I'll move to approve the contract addendum with Meyer Dussel.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract addendum with Meyer Dussel. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. We have 2 items for planning and community development. I think you handling them both, Ray?
Just the first one,
The
and
first
Liz
one?
is going to step up for
Okay.
the second.
All right.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. For your consideration, we have the annual memorandum of understanding with the Center Region Planning Agency on behalf of the Center County Metropolitan Planning Organization for work tasks under that MOU. The contribution for this year's MOU is $236,059 for the period of January 1st through December 31st, 2024. I just wanted to note one important item to this is that under the MOU, a maximum total of $95,902 can be charged towards our time as county planning department staff and credited towards this MOU for shared tasks under the agreement. We have plenty of examples of how we share in those tasks with the MPO and have a good partnership there. So this is the annual consideration for that.
Great. Thanks, Ray. And I know Coach has been doing a great job in that particular area. Like to thank her for all of her hard work.
Yes.
Commissioner Concepcion, questions or comments?
Yeah, no questions at this time.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
How does this compare to last year's allocation? If you can refresh my memory.
The other component of this did increase with the fact that the MPO will be hiring a transportation grant specialist to help with the bipartisan infrastructure law to try to acquire more funds for priorities on the long-range transportation plan. So, yeah, comparatively to last year, that consideration for additional staff is a difference.
All right. Unless there's anything else, we'll move on to our next item then.
Good.
Thanks, Ray. And now Liz will talk about Center County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Yeah, we like to tag team. It's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm asking for your consideration this morning to approve the scope of work for the county's hazard mitigation plan update. So why is somebody from planning talking about hazard mitigation when it should be more of maybe an emergency management item? We've had a direct linkage, our planning department, with EMA. This will be the third hazard mitigation plan update that I will be involved in. We do that on a couple fronts. The first one being that from a planning perspective, we already are out there and about with the planning regions, with the municipalities. So we're already kind of collecting information that might be pertinent for inclusion in a hazard mitigation plan, especially when it comes to like transportation issues and flooding and what have you. The other scope of this is the administrative side. Because EMA already collects federal management dollars, they cannot take any money out of this grant to compensate themselves time-wise. So our planning staff time and also GIS or any other department that would be involved in this plan, we can count our hours and get that reimbursement back. We do have a pretty aggressive schedule. Jody Lair and I laid this out last year that the plan has to be completed no later than May 25th of 2025. So we are on schedule with Michael Baker as it stands. There are things that are spelled out in the scope of work that Michael Baker is to complete, and then tasks and responsibilities that our staff will have in the planning office. This can entail any kind of outreach and engagement with the municipalities, a series of strategy workshops, public meetings, developing the plan document, and reviewing the plan before its final approval. The contract total is for $91,000, being split between state and federal dollars for the period ending May 30th, 2025. So at this time, if you have any questions about the mitigation plan and how the scope of work will play out.
Great.
Nope.
Thanks for the explanation, Liz. And I think you've broken it down very well. This is something very important to the county and its residents, and it's big enough that we actually have 3 different departments within the county working on it: planning, emergency management, and geographic information systems. So as the county doing 52 different things, sometimes there's something that I've started to play pickleball recently, and you put something right down the middle, you got to have 2 different people or 3 different people maybe working on it.
Yeah, and fortunately, monies were made available through a lot of the COVID funding spectrums that allowed counties to actually do this update a year earlier than scheduled in the past. And we just want to reiterate that it's really important for municipalities, when this plan is completed, to adopt it as their own so they can be recipients of federal funding should they have a hazard occur in their municipality.
Okay.
That sounds great. Commissioner Concepcion, comments or questions?
Yeah, could you just tell us a little bit about the kinds of hazards that this covers? I assume hazardous materials and things of that nature, but how broad is the scope of what you're looking at?
There's about 30 different hazards that this plan covers. It's everything from natural, man-made. We are looking at other risks such as like cybersecurity. We're looking at things that maybe we hadn't looked at in the past to hazard mitigation plans, just because there's such changes in like technology, increases in population, of course COVID. We're going to talk about other
Pandemic
kinds of
preparedness,
there's health risks as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Commissioner Dershowitz, any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, all right. Unless there's anything else, we'll take a motion then.
I'll move to add the planning and community development items 1 and 2 to next week's consent agenda.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to add the planning and community development items 1 and 2 to next week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now for risk management, looks like we've got a double team on this one too. Krista and Domer.
Good morning, everyone. We're bringing 2 items to you today under the umbrella of continuity of operations. So the first is a memorandum of understanding with Central Pennsylvania Institute CPI, and I think I'll just turn it over to Domer from EMA to discuss how that came to be.
Good morning. Excuse me. The MOU that we have with CPI that we're here about today was last updated in 2013. So we thought this was a good opportunity to get new signatures, obviously staff changes at both locations. And we also thought it would be a good idea to take a tour of CPI. To give you a little background, our EOC is located in the Willowbank building. If something were to happen, we are required to have a backup location, which is why we're doing this agreement with CPI. When we took the tour, we realized that CPI had a lot more room to offer, plenty for the EOC and additional operations. So when we came back, we were then approached through the COOP committee, because obviously they're looking for locations, and I can turn it back over to you and you can explain from there.
So we more or less jumped on the opportunity for the rest of the county's offices that would need to relocate in the event of an emergency. And so we've combined our efforts for this one MOU, and this is what we have before you now. It's an MOU with CPI that provides alternative office space for the alternative EOC and other county business offices.
All right, in case somebody didn't mention it, EOC stands for Emergency Operations
Yes.
Center. And Commissioner Dershowitz and I, actually, you've probably been there for more than one emergency, but back in October of 2016, when we had the major flood, that room was hopping and crowded.
Bald Eagle, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner Concepcion, any questions?
Yeah, no, I'm glad that CPI is willing to share their space with us in case of an emergency, and thanks for all your work getting this sorted out in terms of all the details.
We have an outstanding relationship with CPI and their staff.
Yep.
They are willing to do whatever they can for the county to assist, which is really nice to have.
It's great.
Very good. Commissioner Dershowitz?
I think it goes without saying, we hope we never have to implement this conversation any further than today, but it's good to know that we have that relationship, and CPI has been a fantastic partner with the county. And in the event of a serious catastrophic event, emergency, it's good to know that we have a secondary plan for continuing operations at the county level. So thank you for your diligence.
And just to feed on that a little bit, we will be coming to you in the near future with another alternate location. It's a little further away from this area in CPI, so we're in the works of getting that taken care of at the time. So.
Great. All right, well, unless there's anything else, I think we could take a motion.
Okay, so I will move to add the risk management items 1 and 2 to next week's consent agenda.
I will second it.
We have a motion to add the 2 items for risk management to next week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Krista. Thanks, Delmer. Now we'll move over to capital projects. John has a project with a local service provider.
Good morning. Before you for consideration is the approval of a professional services agreement for special inspections and site testing services. As you know, the Centercrest project is about to gear up and go full steam ahead, and part of the project requirements there would be to have independent third-party testing for any type of concrete or steel welding, those types of verification services. We reached out to a couple local firms who specialize in this. It's considered a professional service, and we received a quote back from CMT Laboratories, with whom we currently have a working relationship with. They are assisting us with the retaining wall third-party testing at the courthouse. So we are seeking approval of the professional service agreement with CMT Laboratories for special inspections and site testing services for the Centercrest building renovation.
Great. Thanks, John. Commissioner Concepcion, any questions?
Yeah, sounds good.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
I'm fine. We've had a great relationship with them.
Yes. Yeah, they've been very helpful during the retaining wall project. All right, unless there's anything else.
I'll move to approve the professional services agreement with CMT Laboratories, Inc.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the professional service agreement with CMT Laboratories, Inc. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Great, thanks, John. Now Dave is back up with a purchase for the Transportation Department.
Again, thank you. And I ask for consideration of approval of an in-kind purchase of 1 vehicle from Penn State using our in-kind funds. And it just allows us to continue to upgrade our fleet and rotate out vehicles that have met their useful life. It's a 2016 Ford Fusion with 75,000 miles. Price is $12,125, less the surcharge fee that we pay. And it is available and ready for us if we approve it.
Great. Well, thanks, Dave. Any questions from either commissioner?
Now, this is all part of the in-kind agreement with Penn State, so it's an
Correct.
opportunity
Yes.
for us to have some cost savings to the taxpayers, and it's
Yep.
always appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Then I'll move to approve the in-kind purchase of the vehicle from Penn State University.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the in-kind purchase of a vehicle from Penn State University. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Thanks
Thank you.
again, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Now we've got Julia coming up with 2 contracts for the Super Department of Mental Health, Intellectual Disability, Early Intervention, Drug and Alcohol.
Good morning. I have 2 contract addendums in front of you, both having to do with the first episode psychosis grant that we had previously received. We now have the available funding. So for the first one, we want to increase Oasis Life Care LLC's contract by $1,081 $181,113, so that they can continue to provide services to our folks, outpatient medicated management. And then also, secondly, is with Skills Incorporated. So the contract with Skills Incorporated, we're looking to increase their contract as well. Part of that increase allows for folks to be able to choose Oasis Life Care or Skills for the first episode psychosis, so they can choose their provider. The second part, though, is also to provide some additional funding for psychiatric rehabilitation services, both the clubhouse and also the traditional services as well.
Great. Well, glad to see we're already able to start using that grant to provide more services to the community for the first event psychosis. Commissioner Concepcion, questions?
Yeah, no, just thanks for organizing this to get these providers, in the system for our citizens to be able to access.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks again for moving this through so quickly.
Yeah.
I think we can take a motion.
I will move to add the MHID, EI, DNA items 1 and 2 to next week's consent agenda.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to add the 2 items for essentially drug and alcohol, I think. Actually, no, it's mental health in this
Yes,
case.
it is
For
mental
mental health to next week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julia. Got a kind of a medium-sized consent agenda. Unless there's anything we want to discuss, we'll just approve that.
Move to approve this week's consent agenda.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve this week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries. All right, we have one appointment for our authorities, boards, and commissions. We are appointing Robert Ziegler to the Central PA Community Action Board. The term of that appointment runs from January 1st of 2024 to December 31st of 2027. If there's any questions, we could take a motion.
Well, actually, I do have a question. I should have mentioned this the last time.
Yeah.
I think we are in a position where we deal with these authority boards and commissions, and they show up on our agenda, and we really don't have a proper vetting process for. And I think we need to. We need to establish a vetting process. I'd like to see I'd like to see all the applicants. I'd like to see their applications, and I'd like to have the opportunity to if you will, choose the best candidates for these positions. And I know they show up here, and I don't know what the process is, and it's never been very clear. Some whether the recommendations are internal from that organization or whether they're from us. But I think there needs to be a little bit more vetting on these conversations moving forward. If that makes sense to the board.
It does. No, it's a great question.
Agreed.
I already was talking with John and Aaron last week, saying, hey, can the commissioners get a little more heads up than just a bunch of names appearing during the email that goes out on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, there's a lot of important positions, particularly if you think about, we're responsible for hospital authorities and higher education authorities, and to make sure that we do our complete homework on who we have serving on these very important positions.
And in this particular circumstance, I believe Robert was the only applicant. He wasn't interviewed by the executive director of Central PA Community Action, and she said, oh yeah, he'll be a great addition to the board.
Yeah, I just think it would be helpful if we had an opportunity to look at that.
Creating a process for how we approach it.
Yeah, I just think it makes sense.
No, that's
agreed.
good. Already chatted with staff about it.
Okay, fantastic.
All right, so unless there's anything else, we can have a motion to approve the ABC appointment.
I will move to approve the ABC appointment.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ABC appointment of Robert Ziegler to the Central PA Community Action Board. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to the check run. Commissioner Concepcion.
Yeah, so the check that I'd like to note in this week's check run is to the Pennsylvania Academy for Animal Care, and this is for training for the humane officer who will be starting with Center County soon. And I'd like to recognize Sheriff Samsel and his department for their work in getting this program up and running and getting one of our deputies in the sheriff's office to have the opportunity for this training so that we'll be able to provide humane officer services going forward for people, for the animals in Center County that are impacted by neglect or abuse. This is a good step forward for us, and I know Commissioner Dersham has been involved in this initiative for quite a while.
Yeah, and it's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
We're in the very almost embryonic infancy of getting everything organized. We have a lot of more collaborations to go. So,
But the training is a good step.
Yeah, you got to do that first.
yeah, we have to have that on board.
So I'll move to approve the check run dated February 2nd, 2024.
I will second
We
it.
have a motion and a second to approve the check run dated February 2nd. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries. John, is there any administrators report?
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay, move over back to Commissioner Concepcion for the voter registration report.
Okay. So today we have 100,851 registered voters in Center County, and that is up 49 from last week's report. Of those, Democratic voters make up 42,283, Green Party 138, Libertarian Party 606, no affiliation are 13,841, and Republicans come in at 40,934 registered voters. Including all of the other smaller parties, those are 3,049, making up that total of 100,851. Our party of the week is the American Solidarity Party. They have one registered voter here in Center County. And the precinct of the week that we're looking at is Precinct 44, College West. They vote at the College Township Municipal Building at 1481 East College Avenue. So we're grateful to College Township for providing the use of their municipal building. And in the last election in November, they had 1,203 registered voters in that precinct, and there were 314 ballots cast for a voter turnout of 26.1%, which is really only about half of the turnout rate for the rest of the county. So that might be a heavily student populated
It is.
precinct.
Yeah, it's
So,
about 50-50.
yeah. So that is this week's voter registration report.
All right. And under announcements, Center County government offices will be closed on Monday, February 20th, in observance of President's Day. John, do we have any executive sessions to report or to hold?
No executive sessions to report or hold.
All right. And remainder of our public meeting schedule, the commissioners have a work session here in about 11 minutes. And then on Thursday, with the Board of Commissioners and combined with Salary Board meeting at 10 a.m., Board of Elections meeting at 1 p.m., and then next week, Tuesday, the 13th, that we have a Board of Commissioners meeting at 10, followed by a work session at 11. I see we actually have two press in attendance today. Are there any questions from press?
Yeah, with the governor set to deliver his budget address later this afternoon, I wanted to ask if there's anything that the board is keeping an eye out for as far as spending proposals or programs that you're hoping to see proposed by the governor.
Well, I think we're mostly focusing on the priorities of the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, more funding for areas like mental health, more funding for areas like complex cases for youth, which is a burgeoning, very difficult area for human services at the county level. Of course, additional funding for things like economic development and public transportation are also always anticipated. And I know that there is the court case involving the funding for public education, which is a big one. I'll give the other two commissioners a shot at that one too, since it's a big question.
Yeah, so I think, the court case regarding public ed is something I've been following for years, and I know Pennsylvania school districts are really looking for some increased funding, especially for the most underfunded districts. So I think I'll certainly be looking for that. But of course, we look to, the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania puts out funding priorities each year, and so we want to collaborate with our fellow commissioners around the state in terms of what we're asking for in terms of state funding too. So.
Commissioner Dersham.
I'm going to hit it from probably a different angle. One of the things that, and I know it's we've gotten some good news from Phil out in Punxsutawney about our weather coming up. But one of the things that concerns me, and I think concerns a lot of our residents, particularly in the rural areas, is funding for the mitigation of the spongy moth, the gypsy moth, and see if we can provide some level of relief. Because if we have a wet, swampy, cold, nasty spring, probably a lot of nature will mitigate that itself. But if we have a dry and perhaps more hospitable environment for them to thrive, we have some real issues with some of our areas that got hit hard last year. And I think mitigation of that problem would be welcome. Ray, it probably predates you, but back in the day we had Carl Wisniewski here who did a lot of work for us and making sure that we coordinated those programs here at the county level. We don't have that in place right now. We don't have the funding, but I would really ask that the state look at the opportunity to fund those programs, because it can decimate tens of thousands of acres of our most cherished woodland, and it's something for us to look at, I think, as the state. So that
that's
would be
something,
my wish list.
when it happens year after year, really takes a toll on those trees.
Yeah, it weakens the trees the first year, and then the succeeding years, it devastates the cover, the tree cover, and kills the trees. So.
And of course, having one of the largest universities on the planet here inside the county, a little extra funding for Penn State wouldn't hurt either.
But either way, whatever we need to do to take care of that problem would be appreciated.
Yeah. Great. Additional questions?
Yes, I have two things.
All right.
First and foremost, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm the new local government reporter for the Standard Daily Times. Haley Kynes was the old one. She's moving to the State College down in Gumby. I'm stepping in her place. So I'll be at a lot of meetings here on out for as long as I'm there. Thank you all for the warm welcome. And second of all, I had a question regarding some of the surrounding municipalities and their ongoing disputes with CATA. I know that Bellefonte Borough, along with some of the other surrounding townships, have been considering dropping the CATA services, and I was wondering what all you thought about that issue, and or if you thought about any potential help you would be willing to give the municipalities affected by dropping that service.
Sure, I'll do my best to start it off. It's very unfortunate for the people who rely on public transportation in Spring, Benner, and Bellefonte Borough. Obviously, it's, from the sounds of it, hundreds of people who utilize those transportation services. There are persons who have disabilities that make it difficult or impossible for them to drive, not just straight physical disabilities, but even people, say, who have diabetes at a more advanced stage shouldn't necessarily be behind the wheel. You have persons who never learn to drive. You have individuals where they're trying to get by with one car, even though there might be 4 or 5 people in the family, and public transportation makes that a little bit easier. But here in Pennsylvania, that type of transportation is a local municipal issue. There's been a long-term agreement between Spring, Benner, and Bellefonte Borough for their relationship with CATA. So this is a very nuanced situation, lots of different layers to it. There's no particular group that's necessarily in the wrong or necessarily in the right. I know there's been some pretty good coverage here the last couple of weeks on that topic. Historically, the commissioners have given a $5,000 per year allocation to assist the Borough of Bellefonte with transportation for individuals who would potentially need to go to a county-type facility. But that's usually as far as the county has gone. We do, in the back of the room, have a county transportation department, and we're mandated and receive funding from the state of Pennsylvania to transport individuals over the age of 65, to transport individuals with significant physical disabilities or intellectual disabilities, and the commissioners have traditionally bumped the age of 65 down to 60 in certain circumstances for residents. We do provide those services to most of the 35 municipalities in Center County, a little bit of an overlay in the Bellefonte Spring Benner area, and CATA handles CATA Ride throughout most of the State College area. Did I get that just about right, Dave?
Medical assistance as
Oh,
well.
and medical assistance as well. Transportation for people who are on medical assistance to medical appointments. So it's a very nuanced situation, but at this point, just like for things, say like zoning, filling potholes in local roads, this is a municipal issue, not necessarily a county issue. I don't know if one of the other commissioners wants to chime in on that.
Well, I think what we've got here is a real kind of, we're stymied by economics. When this program was started, CATA started the CATA Go program through grant money, had the opportunity to get this thing up and running, and unfortunately those grant dollars are running out, and so the cost of the program is now on the backs of the local municipalities. And if you have a municipality that used to spend $25,000 to provide these services that are now providing over $200,000, that's a huge hit. And it's not something that you're going to rectify and remedy overnight. And I'm not sure what the answer is, but unfortunately, it looks like the existence of these programs is in peril because we just can't backfill that kind of responsibility. And if you look at that, you compound that with multiple municipalities, it's a big number. And unfortunately, it's something that, as Mark indicated, we are not directly responsible for. As much as we'd like to help, I just don't think we have the wherewithal and the resources to backfill the kind of dollars that are required to make these programs sustainable. And the other thing that has to be noted is you can't raise the fares enough to make this sustainable. So this is really a subsidized program that really the folks that rely on these are going to probably have to find another way of finding transportation services because this is probably not going to be sustainable by the local municipalities.
Yeah, I believe it's a little nuanced, but I think about the highest percentage they can raise fares by on an annual basis is like 5%.
Right.
So
well, it's just
even there,
again
they're kind of stuck.
these numbers. And the other thing is, and I think the CATA Go programs have been in place for about 3 years now. Would you?
Sounds about
I
right.
think that's probably right. At some point, you're going to end up with the vans and the other the buses or whatnot all needing replaced, which is going to be a whole other conversation about maintenance and replacement. So I think this situation will be compounding itself over the next few years. It's going to get worse before it gets better financially. And the cost of vehicles is going up, the cost of fuel is going up, wages are going up. I mean, just the whole system is just kind of a perfect storm of increase in cost for providing those services.
Commissioner Concepcion, any comments?
Yeah, I think the other commissioners covered it well. This is not necessarily a county matter, but we know it affects, the people who rely on us for services as well, since with the county seat being in Bellefonte. And so I think we need to have our eyes open in terms of what the impact is on those who are unable to drive or who, don't have access to a vehicle for various reasons. So, I think we'll need to be aware of that, but it's not necessarily something that we're able to solve in terms of the negotiations between the municipalities. So.
The other part of this is, we do have impacts at the county level because of this. We rely on the CATA Go program to provide work release transportation for our folks at our correctional facility, and we're probably going to have to see what we can do to continue to provide those resources to get those people out in the community. That's the one, but the second one obviously is if these other resources are not available for our citizens, that probably Art and Dave and his staff and our transportation department will be asked to do more, and so we're going to have to find the opportunities and resources to provide those services for, as Mark indicated, some folks in the community that we are required to provide to. So.
Yeah, the district attorney has already expressed his interest in finding a way to keep the work release program going at Center County Correctional Facility, and we're beginning some very early stage planning discussions here in the county to see what county transportation could do in highly specific, very limited circumstances like that. we're already reaching the point where our number of rides is almost back to pre-pandemic levels for Center County transportation. So we can add a few more rides internally without, as Commissioner Dershowitz mentions, the need for substantial additional capital expenditures.
And I think it's, a lot of the attention has been on the impact on Bellefonte residents and those in Benner and Spring Township. But I think it's worth noting that there's a lot of residents in the Center Region municipalities who rely on CATA transportation to come this direction as well. So it's really, the impact's not just limited to the Bellefonte area.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Any other questions? A lot of good questions today from the press. No? All right. Unless there's anything else to go to the order, I think we can take a motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
I will second that.
We have a motion, a second to adjourn at 11:01. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And we'll start our work session here in just a couple minutes.